The Crown of Sorrow raid represents one of the most difficult activities in Destiny 2. No doubt about it, this is a very challenging raid, and to beat this is going to require a lot of good teamwork and communication. In this video, I'm going to explain the very final encounter because more than likely that's what's going to prevent your team from emerging victorious from this raid. Before I jump into that, if this video is helpful, please make sure you hit that like button, and even better would be to smash that sub button. I would greatly appreciate it. But before we jump into the actual battle itself, let's talk about your character, because if you're kitted out, it does make this a bit easier to deal with. So I played on my Warlock, and having a Well of Radiance is clutch. For that reason, I use Phoenix Protocol. To be honest, in hindsight, I would probably rather use the Lunafactions because that is going to help out with your DPS a lot more. But use whichever one you have. On top of that, make sure you have a good assortment of weapons to choose from. I myself and many others have used Outbreak Perfected. This weapon absolutely dominates, and it does amazing damage versus the boss. In terms of dealing with adds, you want to have, in my opinion, a fusion rifle. Loaded Question is incredible now with the bump to fusion rifles. If you have this, make sure you use it. Put a Major Spec on there for good measure, and this thing will make quick work of both the Knights as well as the Ogres, as you will see. For your heavy weapon, people can use either a heavy machine gun, like the Hammerhead, or in my case, I was using the Bad Omens rocket launcher. Now, this is a curated version. Personally, I think the one that has cluster bombs and auto-loading holster is better. But on both of these, make sure you put a Major Spec because that's going to help you out versus all the tough enemies in this encounter. So with that said, we're going to jump right into it. Hopefully this video is helpful, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let's see how to take down the GAHLRAN boss from Crown of Sorrows. Okay, so with this final fight, you're going to be using a lot of the same mechanics that you learned throughout this raid. You want to make sure you break off in the teams of 2 on the left, a team of 2 in the middle, and a team of 2 on the right. Just like before, you want to have 3 players get that Witch's Blessing, and then have them break off 1 to the left, 1 to the middle, 1 to the right. Once the first Knight comes in, take that guy out right away, and then get ready to take out the other Knight. You want to make sure that you are constantly talking to your teammate in terms of the amount of time left, and also too with the crystals. Just like before, there are shielded crystals in this fight. So as you take those guys out, I'm taking out the blessed enemies, my buddy is taking out the non-blessed, and we're always being mindful of the amount of time we have left for our blessing so that we can exchange it to one another. The entire time that this is happening, my teammates on the other side, the middle and left, are doing the same thing. Now, even though I can't do damage here versus that guy, I can still put down some support things for my teammates. So a healing rift, a healing grenade, all of these things here, you're working closely with your teammate to make sure that you are in constant alignment with one another. Once your Ogre comes in, this is where you want to have something like Bad Omens. This thing can put a serious hurting on your team and also too on your other buddies as well. They can easily shoot your teammates from across the map. So be preemptive, take that Ogre out as soon as he comes in. So as we're doing this, the crystals are going in rotation. We're taking out the crystal one that's with us. When the crystal's in the middle fire team is taking that down. And eventually you're going to get to the point where the deceptions show up. That's when you want to do a melee from your player as well as the non-blessed player. This crystal is definitely the hardest one to get. The crystal that floats in midair, you have to jump around at the same time. It's easy to mess up that jump because you may get overwhelmed with some enemies like the Knights or the Cursed Thralls. They are even worse. So we're taking out all these guys here, always making sure that we are exchanging the blessing in a timely manner. This is where you need to be really, really careful because it's easy to get overwhelmed if you're not clearing out adds quickly. The other important thing here too is you always want to make sure you're listening to your other teammates because there may be occasions where they need to have a blessing. Either a player goes down or a player does not get an exchange. So always make sure you're listening to your other 4 teammates because they may need your assistance as well. So Outbreak Perfected is really good here. The nanites are great because they can actually take out another add, which is awesome. And they do amazing damage versus the boss. The Cursed Thralls are going to be your biggest enemy. Having a Well of Radiance is actually really clutch. I know a Titan Bubble could work well here for some fire teams, but we do not have a Titan on our side. So having a Well of Radiance there is good as long as you have one for the actual boss fight as well. Here a crystal showed up. So before we take down our Deception shield, we want to take down the crystal. That will be what wipes your team. So we exchange our blessing one more time, and now we have our Wall of Radiance there. That's going to provide some additional protection. He punched me out of it, so he kind of messed me up, but we got him down via meleeing at the same time. That will stun him, and we can then shoot the hand of our boss in the background there. So we're waiting for his hand to show up. Once his hand shows up, then you can shoot that, and that is what causes him to get angry, and he punches that deception and kills him. So we're actually using the big boss against him. Once all 3 deceptions are down, once that final crystal is down, then you want to make sure you're taking down the hands for your boss. All 3 bosses all around, the boss on the left, the boss in the middle, and the boss on the right, they're going to have both their hands turn green. So one guy on your side shoots the left, one guy shoots the right. You're essentially right here, you're determining which is the real boss. Before you do damage, do one last crystal exchange. That way you have plenty of time for the final fight. Here, the Well of Radiance is great, and this is where the Lunafaction boots really come in handy with Outbreak Perfected. If you have the Striking Hand mod from this actual raid and from Season of Opulence, that increases damage by 25%. So that's going to make you do a crazy amount of damage here if you have that mod active. You may have saw briefly right there, the Celestial Nighthawk does a crazy amount of damage, as it always does in boss encounters. As long as you have the Well of Radiance, you're pretty much okay here from getting killed from the other enemies. Just do as much damage as you can. Better safe than sorry, throw it down. So, right there, we didn't quite one-phase him. I think if the fire team is a higher light, or if we had been a bit more careful, we probably could have one-phased. But I think for right now, for most fire teams, the light level is not quite there to do enough damage output. So, the key thing here is, let's not panic. Let's make sure that we are doing the same thing we did before. We did it once, you just got to string it together again here. So get back to your side. If you're on the left, go back to the left, middle and right, so on and so forth. Teams of 2, I think, is a lot better than the middle strategy, in my opinion. So we're taking out those knights. Those knights can do a lot of damage, so if you know where they're going to come in, that comes in handy. So you see here from my side, I knew he was going to come in on the left. Boom, we take him down, we're good to go. We're going to exchange that blessing. So here we're going to rely on Outbreak Perfected to do some major work. And my Well of Radiance is almost back, which is good because we need that for when the deception shows up. Well of Radiance or Titan Bubble is going to be your best bet for that. But first, we have an Ogre. Bad Omens is great. If you have Bad Omens with a Well of Radiance and the Striker mod active, you can take out those guys in one hit, but 2 hits is fine too. So we're listening to our teammates, we're listening to our teammates across the map. We want to take them out. Don't bother using your Outbreak Perfected against these guys. Use all your heavy and special weapons that you have, because that's going to clear these guys a lot faster. His attacks do damage, but your bigger risk is going to be the adds. So here we have Cursed Thralls coming in. One more crystal, we jump in there and take that out. I think our buddy's here. Yep, he's up close and personal. Well of Radiance right where he is. That's a safer play. This raid is really reliant on the Well of Radiance, and I think this is why they nerfed the Starfire or the Phoenix Protocol. Even with that, though, it's still good exotic to use as long as one guy has the Lunafactions. So keep in mind, you want to make sure you're listening to your teammates, because somebody needed to have a buff here. It looks like I lost mine. I had to go over and grab it. That somebody was me. Maybe a snake, not a big deal. So let's take out the other Cursed Thralls. We're getting ready for our last final assault on GAHLRAN. So we're going to exchange here. Oh, a teammate was down. I made a very foolish play here. I went over to revive. I should have waited, but if I had been a slightly lower light level, I think I would have died there. That's alright. We live to fight another day. So crystal's showing up. We're going to go get that crystal. This is the difficult one. The one that's in the mid-air is always hard to hit, as you can see here. If you don't time your jump at the same time, you can go in panic mode like I was right there, but we got the crystal down. We're going to exchange, and we're going to shoot the hands. I'm always shooting the right. My teammate is always going to shoot the left hand. Same thing for the middle and the right hand side. They're shooting theirs. I died here because I didn't exchange. So a foolish play from me. But this is why you have fire teams. My buddy's got my back. He comes over and gets me. And now we're ready to do a final assault on GAHLRAN. Of course, always exchange your buff before you do damage. And make sure you get rid of that last crystal. So here, Well of Radiance is down. We are shooting Outbreak like crazy. And it's just doing a ton of damage against the boss here. We're shooting the hands when they turn green. That lets us keep going for damage. And you can see, you do have a lot of time here for this damage phase. You can see the nanites starting to add up. You saw the health drop down a lot right there because of that. And there we go. With this boss, there is nothing special at the very end. Once you get his health down all the way, he drops, his giant helmet comes crashing across the screen. There's actually some weird stuff in there, so go check that out when you take him down. But that's it. There you go. Crown of Sorrows is complete, and you reach in for a high five with your team. Everyone, if this was helpful, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I would love it even more if you guys pop into a live stream. I do live streams here on YouTube, so I'd love to see you guys come and hang out. More importantly, though, thank you so much for watching. Best of luck getting this done. I know there is some time to get the raid jacket done, so if you're watching this when it first comes out, please jump back in there, get that done. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and can't wait to see you guys again. Take care.